Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody. Again, I'm Kirsten Puskar. I'm the diabetes educator. I'm a dietitian and they call it a certified diabetes care and education specialist now. Ooh, big name. But yeah, I've been trained in all the different ways that we can manage our diabetes, whether it's by food and diet and lifestyle, if it's by medications, and how to apply all of those things, whether it's lifestyle or some medications are pills and some medications are injections. So all of that kind of thing. So I have over 20 myths that I found from the computer that I have heard myself, and I thought maybe I would go through a few of them. Behind me, if you all, some of you are on phone, some are on your computer, is a big poster. It's called a conversation map, and it talks about the journey of diabetes. And the very first part of everyone's journey is diabetes is very different for everybody. And even if you have diabetes a certain way, when you're 40, you're going to have a different way when you're 45 or 42 or 37 or 19. Your diabetes is always going to change. It really is not a disease like heart disease or kidney disease or blindness. It's more how the condition of your kidney, of your pancreas is, and how your pancreas works. So they call it diabetes, but it's really the pancreas disease. Can it make insulin or not? And insulin is the one enzyme in our bodies that can open up the cells to let the blood sugar from the veins go into the cells. Most of our nutrients come from our blood, and the nutrients can easily flow through our veins, through the vein wall into the cell wall, but sugar is a big molecule and it cannot get through to the cell wall, without insulin. That is a key that unlocks the door. So then the door is open and then the sugar can go from the veins, from the bloodstream into the cells. So insulin is made by the pancreas. And we just got to see what kind of condition your pancreas is in, so that we can make sure we get enough insulin into your body so that you can get the sugar into your cells. So I have a lot of other things about diabetes, but let's just go over the myths right now. But like I said, it's a disease about the pancreas that makes insulin. So the first myth that I have is people with diabetes can never eat sugar. So that is a myth. Oh, all of these are going to be myths. Spoiler alert. In the class, we talk about whether it's a myth or a fact. I have it written as all the myths. So some people feel that, Johnny has diabetes, he can't have anything sweet, no sugar for him, and that is not the case. With everyone with diabetes, as everyone who doesn't have diabetes, the best diabetes diet is the most nutritious one. So we want to have protein and fat and carbs and fiber at every meal. The carbs and the fiber come from the plants, whether it's strawberries or lettuce or carrots, onions, potatoes, that kind of thing, and grains, those, whether it's quinoa or rice or whole grain wheat. The fiber and the carbs are very important. They give us energy and they help our gut biome. The gut biome, it runs our body. So we need to have all the food and the protein and the fats. Usually the protein and fat goes together, whether it's peanuts, because peanut oil, or chicken skin, you can see how they go together. And the carbs and the fiber go together, again, with the plants, whether they're grains or vegetables. Or sweets. So if you know that you're going to have some sweets, whether it's a party or a celebration, or it's a really hot night and you know you're going to want a popsicle after dinner, you're going to have less carbs with dinner so that the carbs of the popsicle or the other sweets is part of your meal. It's very important. So people with diabetes can't eat sugar. That's wrong. They can. It's just going to be part of their meal. Sugar is a carbohydrate. Type 2 diabetes is the mild form, and type 1 is the more serious one. All diabetes is serious. That sugar molecule is really big. If you get too much sugar in your bloodstream, that hurts your capillaries. The capillaries can only take like one blood cell, just a very few ingredients. So all the different proteins and minerals and vitamins and sugar that go in your blood. Once it gets to the capillaries, the sugar is so big it blocks it up, and it will block the capillary to the point where it closes it off. And those capillaries feed our nerves. So we don't want to have a high blood sugar, because then we could have nerve damage. And the nerve damage could be peripheral. That would be some blindness, some prickling in your fingers and toes, or it could be internal, where your stomach doesn't release, it slows your digestion, and that can cause all kinds of GERD and bloating, gastroparesis, a whole bunch of different things. So if we keep our blood sugar within a normal range, we're in good shape. And again, to do that, we have the protein and the fat and the fiber and the carbs with every meal, lots of water, but having a balanced diet and lots of nutrition. You don't need to fill up on juice. There is very little nutrition in that. The amount of vitamin C you get out of juice is minimal compared to what you get from eating an orange or having some grapes. Strawberries and blueberries right now are fantastic. They're just little bombs of nutrition. So definitely think about having more fruit. So type 2 diabetes is mild? No, all of them have high blood sugar. High blood sugar is dangerous. Type 2 diabetes only affects fat people. You know, I really thought that was the case. And then I volunteered, I got sent over to the bariatric unit, and I was there for about 3 weeks. I probably saw between 12 and 16 people a day. And every day I would maybe see 1 or 2 people with diabetes. So bariatric surgery is where you are morbidly obese. And all of these people, the vast majority did not have diabetes. So what you weigh really doesn't affect diabetes or metabolic systems. It's obesity is a whole other disease, and we can talk about that later. It puts a big stress on your body, it can make diabetes worse, but it certainly does not give you diabetes. Being fat, having a healthy pancreas, they can be the same thing. So no problems there. People with diabetes should only eat diabetic food. Please don't. Please stay away from the sugar-free stuff, the fat-free stuff. Go for foods that are lower in sugar, lower in fat. Having many vegetables, getting full on vegetables, that is a wonderful way to maintain your blood sugar and get lots of nutrients, lots of fiber. Again, it's good for the bugs that are in our stomach and our intestines that really help balance our bodies. So forget about that diabetic food. Blind people or people with diabetes, they go blind and they lose their legs. That is only people who are not able to manage their diabetes. Maybe they didn't see the doctor, or they're not going regularly to adjust their medicines. Maybe they didn't know about the fiber and the carbohydrates with the proteins and the fats. Maybe they're just eating pretzels all day long, you know, that kind of thing. So having lots of protein and fats and fiber, those really keep your blood sugar down. But if you didn't have any carbs at all, you'd be sleepy in the afternoon. I know a number of people who just eat vegetables and meat, and then the afternoon they are conked out. So make sure you're having a little bit of carbs with all your foods. And the sixth one, people with diabetes are dangerous drivers. That is another one. I have another one. It's called, it isn't safe to exercise, drive, play sports, work certain jobs when you have diabetes. And all of those are false. If you manage your diabetes and your blood sugars are kept within a regular range, and you have a regular diet, and you have exercise or driving at regular times, it can just be part of your life. It used to be that some bus drivers were checked for diabetes, and if they had it, they couldn't be a bus driver. But now the medicines work so much better. You can have, I think I saw you couldn't be an airplane pilot, some frontline for the military you couldn't do. But other than that, every other job you can do. And you can't be an airplane pilot if you're colorblind. There's a whole lot of restrictions on being an airplane pilot, so having diabetes is not a big deal. Does anybody have any questions so far? Have you heard all this before?
No. No, some of it, but no, not all of it. But if we did hear it before, it's worth repeating.
Okay. A big one that I hear a lot is I'm borderline diabetes, so I don't have to worry yet. And that is very disappointing to me, because when you're borderline, this is when we can turn things around. This is when you can improve your diet and you can help your pancreas heal and be able to make the insulin that we need to make. So think about if you've talked to any other people who, oh, I have prediabetes, I have borderline diabetes, that's all the same thing. It just means their blood sugars are elevated in a fasting state, and the doctor wants to keep an eye on you. Some people will go on metformin. Metformin is a medication that stops your liver from giving you too much sugar. The liver is amazing. It does many, many different things. Some people who have diabetes, they might have enough insulin as a normal person, but their liver is just giving them sugar all the time. The idea of how the liver was supposed to work for people who don't have diabetes is when you are fasting. So after dinner, you're living your life, you're going to bed, you're waking up 12 hours later, wouldn't that be great? But yeah, 12 hours, if you're eating dinner around 6 o'clock at night and you're waking up around 6 o'clock in the morning and having breakfast, that's a 12-hour fast. So during that time, your liver stores up energy and is able to give you the sugar that your brain, your heart, and your lungs need. So that's how, but like I said, some people with diabetes, their liver is on overdrive, and metformin is the one drug that can turn that down. It can't turn it off. So you can accidentally take too much metformin, it will not give you low blood sugar. So it's a very safe drug. It's been used since the 50s and 60s, but it wasn't approved in the United States until the 90s. So unfortunately, we've missed out on a lot of good time with metformin, but it's a very safe drug. People who have kidney disease, people who have liver disease and kidney disease too, and B12 are things that we look at just in case they are taking too much metformin than they need, which could vary. Like I said, diabetes changes all the time. So if your doctor recommends you take it, I would try it. I would definitely do what your doctor says, and then if you didn't want to if you wanted to get off of it, talk to your doctor. He might say, hey, at this point we've reduced your blood sugar, and it looks like your pancreas is healed or your liver is healed and it's doing a good job. So you might want to test it every now and then. But I'm about that with every medicine. I don't think you go on one medicine and it stays the same for the rest of your life. There's just too many medicines out there that you can change. That's a whole other topic. Okay, so I have borderline diabetes. No worries. Yeah, that is a perfect time to tweak your diet and your lifestyle so that you avoid diabetes altogether. There's a number ones that about sugar when you were younger. Eating sugar causes diabetes and high blood sugar. Eating many sweets when you were young causes diabetes now. That really, the amount of sugar you have in your blood and how much sugar you're eating, whether it's from potatoes or any kind of savory carbohydrates, grains and that kind of thing, versus sweets versus fruit, those are all carbohydrates. It isn't the carbohydrates that you're eating, it's more the health of your pancreas. So if your pancreas is having trouble and you do show signs of elevated blood sugar, we want to give your pancreas a break, help it heal. And the way to do that is have less animal protein. So that would be beef and chicken and fish and eggs and cheese, having more vegetarian options, vegetables, grains, these kind of things. It's not as hard for your pancreas to digest. When you have the animal proteins, even cheese and eggs, your pancreas has to give 5 different enzymes, and one of them is insulin. If you just have grains and nuts and seeds and berries and nuts, I know that sounds a little funny, but if you go into a more vegetarian diet, a vegan diet, even if you do meatless meals for 1 meal a week or 3 days of meals a week, this can make a big difference on how your pancreas doesn't have to do so much work and it can heal. So meat is more the cause of diabetes rather than sugar. No one in my family has diabetes, so I'm not going to get diabetes. Wouldn't that be great? Our pancreas is a teeny little organ, and it's right above your stomach. And if you were to be in a car accident, or some people get into fights when they're young, or somehow they have injured their pancreas. Some people will have surgery, and during the surgery, the pancreas might get nicked. Some people will have cancer of the pancreas, and they can cut that part off. These will all result in diabetes, different levels of diabetes, but it may not be type 1 diabetes. Let's see, so no one in my family, so I won't get it either. Yeah, it's a genetic thing, but it's also an environmental thing. So if we eat good food, don't have meat 21 times a week, it will be in good shape. And if we're not in any car accidents or some kind of street fight, or, you know, you're taken care of, don't have surgery, it's all about the health of the pancreas. That's really what it is. There's a myth: people with people with diabetes, they get sick more often. That is not true. Most people with diabetes who know they have it and are managing it with their doctors, they hardly ever get sick. I know a 90-year-old woman, she hasn't even had a cough. She's, of course, very worried right now with having diabetes, being 90s, and having the coronavirus. But no, she never gets sick. And I've seen a number of people who, you know, when you have diabetes, you kind of take care of yourself a little bit better. So if anything, out of the whole population, the people with diabetes who are taking care of themselves and they know they have it, they're usually in much better shape. Diabetes is contagious. Absolutely not. Again, it has to do with your pancreas. So if I can't think of a disease that would infect the pancreas that you could share and somebody else's pancreas would get infected. So don't worry, you can sit next to them, you can share their soda, or you're not drinking soda, their seltzer water or their coffee or their tea. You know, if your husband has diabetes and you don't, you could still be a wife, if you know what I mean. Diabetes is absolutely not contagious. The lifestyle that causes diabetes, where it's steak every night and lots of sweets and no exercise, not enough water, just really hammering the pancreas, that lifestyle can be contagious. Your whole family could live like that, and then you could damage your pancreas and end up with diabetes. So sugar raises blood glucose, but not so much the savory things. That is a false. So obviously, all these are false. But some people will like, I don't know why my blood sugar is up. I haven't had any sugar. Well, pasta, fruit, grains, you know, all these things that I was telling you that are not meat, they're carbohydrates. And if you don't have them balanced with some proteins and you're just eating straight carbohydrates all the time, yeah, that is going to, it's going to go. The thing with carbohydrates, they are the most easily, they're the food group that is most easily digested. So when you have protein, it might take 20 minutes to a half an hour to absorb all those nutrients. Same thing with something that's high in fiber, something that has fat in it, that is going to really delay everything, but not carbohydrates. You eat that, within 10 minutes, your sugar's up. So if you can eat something that has the fiber, the protein, the fats in it first, and then have the carbohydrates, then it can't get through and into your system as quickly. You know, it's kind of like blocked by the fats and the proteins and the fiber. So that's why I'm saying have, you know, vegetables and grains, whole grains and that kind of thing, and also proteins, whether that's nuts and seeds and you know, hummus and all that kind of thing, or if you're going to go the animal route with the cheese and the eggs and the fish, you know, those are all have proteins and fats, which are good for us, and we should have some. Sugars. Oh, my doctor put me on insulin, so it means my diabetes is very serious now and no turning back. So there are 8 different ways in our body that we have increased blood sugar. And when the doctor gives you insulin, that is just the pancreas way. So there's things in our intestines that help us with the GLP-1. There's stuff in our glucagon in our muscles, and there's many different ways that we can have high blood sugar. And often, if it's very high in the beginning, they'll put you on insulin to get you started, and then take you off of it once you know, you've manage your lifestyle and these kind of things, and you brought your blood sugar down by yourself with the insulin, then they'll reduce the insulin, and then they put you on a pill. So it can go actually, I even have some patients who have switched to a vegan diet for like a month, and they were able to get off of all of their medicines. Now, these people were very determined, and they had a lot of support, and you know, but they were on insulin before. So really, they were not type 1. Type 1 means you have no insulin at all. So even if you ate a beautiful, healthy diet, there's no B cells in your pancreas to heal. There just isn't. They're gone from an autoimmune disease. So sometimes it's a genetic thing. Sometimes, again, it's an environmental thing. But type 1 diabetes, you cannot come back from that. But type 2 is a varying situation. So some people have pre-diabetes, people have type 2 diabetes and they're just on metformin, and other people have had type 2 diabetes and they're in their 60s, and all they are is on metformin. So it really depends on, you know, your lifestyle and how you're able to manage your blood sugars. my blood sugar is controlled, so I don't need to take my medications today. I've seen that people, they wake up in the morning, their blood sugar is like 90 or 100, so they won't take their morning dose of the long-acting diabetes or insulin, and the long-acting and runs out, and then halfway through the day, their blood sugar is chewed up. So, or they don't take their oral medications. And again, these things are all timed, and you really need to take them at regular times during the day. And sometimes your blood sugar will be lower, and sometimes it will be higher on these medications. But the medication is definitely bringing it down, much more than if you were not on the medication. So keep taking your medications as you normally do. And if you find that you're getting your blood sugars in the 70s, if you're checking your blood sugar, that would be low blood sugar, 70s, 60s. 50s, of course, absolutely call your doctor and they will adjust your medication, so that if you're taking 25 units of Lantus, maybe then you're only going to take 22, that kind of thing. But don't listen to me. Talk to your doctor if you have low blood sugar, and they'll modify your medications, and hopefully, you have less medications because you figured out your lifestyle and your diet. Do we have any questions right now? I should probably stop.
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Sheila. I was wondering, if the other listeners are as surprised about meat consumption being such a contributor to diabetes. Like that factor still kind of stuns me, and the meatless meals, adding that to your diet, how beneficial that is. I just wondered if anybody else was kind of surprised at that being such an issue.
Yeah, this is big in the nutrition world. And actually, I had a webinar last night with, I think it was 14 different dietitians all across the United States. The one woman was talking out of Texas, and she was big with dairy and the beef. And I said, I really don't push that with my patients. They get plenty of dairy and beef. I'm pushing more the vegetables. And the other dietitians were like, yeah, it's really difficult because all we see is beef. That's what's for dinner. Beef has lots of iron in it. And they don't ever talk about, nuts and seeds. They have way more iron, and you can digest them better. And it's so much better for you. Now, I say that meat is fine, once a week. Of course, if you want to have it 3 or 4 times a week is fine. It's just when you have, steak and eggs for breakfast, you're having a turkey sandwich for lunch, you're having grilled chicken for dinner, and you do this 7 days a week. Can be hard. And if you are already on borderline diabetes, this can be very hard on your pancreas. So, and the dairy and the beef board, they will not tell us about this.
And the other thing that you brought up, like when we had the classes, is the fact that our pancreas is required to produce hormones to kind of process the hormones of animal meat. I mean, yes. That was eye-opening also to me, because I just thought, oh my goodness, that's why it's so overworked, and not maybe the diet of cavemen,
Yeah. Absolutely. Then they're actually looking at the diet of cavemen, and they say, well, if the caveman was 100% vegetarian, how would we know? All of that is carbon-based foods. And they do see a lot of bones as tools and as bowls and these kind of things. But, it looks like actually the caveman was a vegetarian, and the meat was ceremonial. It was like 3% of their diet. It was more for ceremonies. But now in the United States.
Or when they all got together and clubbed an animal. You know what I mean? It's like they probably had to gather forces to kill a big animal, and then they all ate it until it was bad. That's what I think. But I just kind of want to know whether anybody else listening is kind of as stunned as I was, that the real recommendation is try to do the meatless meals, or eat the legumes and the hummus and that was really eye-opening to me when I started taking these courses. I just thought, oh, this is the option, or this is what has lots of high protein in it and is satiating and yet is better for my pancreas.
It is. And also there's some great products out now. There's this company Light Life and Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger. And I have made Impossible Burger. I made some meatloaf. The Beyond Meat burgers, they also have a sausage in the morning. I can make a sausage hash. It's like an omelet, only instead of using eggs, you use this plant-based sausage. Oh, it's fantastic. Add a little bit of potato, and I mean like a half a cup of chopped potato in there. It is the best breakfast, and it's got all that you need. And the same thing with the Beyond Meat brats. They're like big hot dogs or like sausages that you put on the grill. We brought them to a party, and everyone was eating them. They're like, oh, they're not greasy. We love these things. What are they? And are they chicken? And I'm like, no, they're Beyond Burger. You know, they make these brats. And they're really great chopped up if you're ever doing sausage and onions. I think you were in some of my cooking classes when we were doing the field roast sausages. This is like a real sausage. That field roast was a little dry. This is really good. So, like I said, you're not going to these vegan bowls with quinoa and no. We're having burgers, meatloaf, sausages with these other products that are delicious. Sometimes they're expensive, so you have to look for sales, but I still think it's definitely worth it. Anyway.
I'll say this, Sheila. I am borderline diabetic. I actually just got my blood work back from this last round of blood work, and I'm pushing closer to the almost diabetic line more than my comfort would allow. I was a 6.1 was my A1C this time. And I know, but I was just like, I'm usually down like, 5'8", 5'9". But anyway, I was surprised by this because when I started thinking about it, I realized what has changed from the last time I had blood work done, which was about maybe 6 months ago now, was that with this staying at home, I've been cooking a lot. And what have I been cooking? I've been really indulging in meat. I mean, every meal and different kinds. I used to really kind of just stick to poultry, but I mean, I've had steak and we've had sausages and we've had, just really mixed it in. I'm like, oh, well, there it is, because I've changed my diet in that way just over this time. And then there went my borderline number started creeping up, and my, fasting blood sugar was 128, where I'm usually like 119 at most. So I was like, yeah, I mean, now I believe it. I'm a believer, but I was equally shocked. I was really surprised the first time I heard Kirsten say that too. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
No, I know.
But yeah.
I wish we could get it more mainstream. That's the only thing. And when you're in the grocery store, I go to a Giant or where I've seen it is, they have the beef and then the pork and then the chicken, and then they'll have plant-based. That's it, like the 3 different Giants that I go to. So it's kind of not, and I've also seen it in the deli section. They'll have like a cooler out in the vegetables, and there'll be like meatballs and stuff, and then they'll have the Beyond Meat burgers. The brats are over. Sometimes it's in with the sausages. I mean, I guess the grocery stores don't really know what to do with it, but it isn't always in the tofu section of the vegetables. So it's kind of tricky, but definitely if you want to just start easy, I highly recommend these plant-based breakfast sausages. There's the one that comes in a tube. That's our favorite. But there's also crumbles. Lately, the choices have been less, so you get mostly the Mexican stuff. But even in the Mexican, it's actually quite good. I had to make my meatloaf with the Mexican crumbles, and it ended up more like sloppy joes. But hey, it's really yummy, and we like that kind of thing. So you want to get back to some more of the myths? We're almost done. One of them was cinnamon or lemon water, bitter lemon, turmeric, stone fruit, hibiscus leaves. These, if I eat enough of them, will cure my diabetes. Unfortunately, I have seen many articles about this. It helps make your cells more sensitive to the little bit of insulin that you do have. So your blood sugars will come down a little bit because the insulin, it can get to the receptors and open them so that the sugar can get in your cells. But these are weird things. I mean, if you're going to make a dish and it's going to have cinnamon in it, yeah, that sounds great. But if you're going to make dishes, but if you're going to try to eat it straight, I've heard people trying to do the what is it, the cider vinegar. I've heard them having esophagus problems. So if you're going to cook with this, you're going to have recipes and they're going to include these kind of things. That's fabulous. We're always looking for more recipes where we use more herbs and spices. They're very nutritious, but to use this straight, like having a tablespoon of cinnamon mixed with water or something and trying to swallow, do not do that. That is not beneficial to anybody and it can really hurt you. So the best thing is having vegetables, spinach with your eggs, if you're going to have eggs, berries with your yogurts, having these breakfast sausages and making the hash with a little bit of potato. Again, for lunches, having the vegetable soup or having whatever you had for dinner on a salad. That is fantastic. Or better yet, having your dinner during the day. A lot of my patients have been having weight gain. The COVID-19, everybody's gaining the weight. So now we are looking at having our meal during the day. It does take a lot of planning because we're still working during the day. But if we can, so we make it at dinner time, we'll have mostly the vegetable for dinner and a little salad and then save the rest of the dinner for midday. My husband has been able to lose weight, yay! And a lot of my patients have also been able to do it. But again, it's a lot of planning. But there was a study done about GERD, and they're trying to, why do we have acid reflux at night? And they looked at different eating times and how much to eat, and they found that your stomach and your intestines and your mouth, your whole digestive system is awake and ready to go when you get out of bed. The sun is shining, you're active, you can absorb more nutrients from it, you can digest your food faster, you're not as hungry because you can get all the nutrients out of your food. So you're not so snacking. So having a good sized breakfast and having, again, dinner for lunch. These are a really good time to have the bulk of your calories. And then at night when the sun goes down, your digestive system goes to sleep. It basically, it can't move as well. It can't move the food around as well. It often stays in your stomach for a long time. And then it kind of, when you lay down, it comes up from that little sphincter that comes up to your esophagus and causes the pain. So look at having more of your complex foods, your big meals during the day when your digestive system is optimized, and having something lighter for dinner, whether it's of course, a salad, grilled vegetables, having a little bit of grain, something that has carbohydrates and fiber, and not so heavy proteins, because again, that's hard at the end of the day. So yeah, cinnamon, lemon water, all these kind of things, they're great in recipes. That's a good thing. Type 1 diabetes is incurable, although, oh, wait a minute. Type 1 diabetes is incurable. However, type 2 diabetes can be reduced and even reversed, depending on your diet and your lifestyle and how damaged your pancreas is. Type 1, you'd never have the B cells to make insulin, so you always have to be on an insulin pump is really great. And now the continuous glucose monitors can talk to the insulin pumps. It's basically a closed loop system, and they call it an artificial pancreas. So you have to replace the sensors every 2 weeks approximately, or you have to refill your pump every 3 days. But the sensor will talk to the pump, and then it's as if you have a real pancreas. Tandem does this with Dexcom, Tandem pump, the T-Slim with the Dexcom CGM, continuous glucose monitor. And the Medtronic, which is the major pump company in the United States, Medtronic has their Guardian. So Guardian talks to the Medtronic pump, and the Dexcom CGM talks to the T-Slim pump. Those are the two that I know of that are wildly, on the market for people who have type 1 diabetes. People who have type 2 diabetes, actually, some of them, if their blood sugars are not controlled with medications and they're not good with insulin, some people have cognitive problems. There's where type 2 diabetes, the insurance will cover that too. So the insurance companies are coming around to this, so it's a good thing. Type 1 is the most serious type of diabetes. Honestly, all diabetes is serious. Gestational, type 2, the high blood sugar is really dangerous. People say, I don't feel bad, so it's probably not a big deal. It is a really big deal. If you start to lose your sight, you are on the way to blindness. If you start to feel pins and needles in your feet, you're on the way to neuropathy. These are small signals. I have this one lady, she loves her grape soda. She just loves it. So she has a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and she says to me, yeah, after dinner, I do go blind for about a half an hour, but then I have some water and my sugar comes. It's crazy talk. So if you love this flavor, let's have it with as your carb of your meal. So you're going to eat mostly, vegetables and meats, proteins, whether it's, the sausages, meat or the meatless sausages or meat sausages, whatever you're having. The big thing is having more of the vegetables than the protein and the fat. And then have the carb with your meal. If you want to have that soda, then you're going to have it with, the sausage hash and all that kind of thing. That doesn't sound good, but she drinks it in the morning too. Um, Oh, so all sugar that is elevated in your blood veins, your bloodstream, we really want to maintain between 80 and 140 before meals. 2 hours after meals, 180 is still fine. I don't have diabetes. I wore the CGM Dexcom, and there were a couple meals that were not balanced, and I had a lot of carbs at night, and my sugar did go over 200. So that was within, like an hour after I had eaten or something. But our sugars are going to vary wildly depending on our exercise and our water and our carbohydrates that we eat. So we want to keep it balanced and have it with the proteins and the fiber. Just watch out for fat. It turns out during this COVID, we realized what is the amount of fat that we need per day. It is basically 2/2 of a walnut. That'll cover your joints, your skin, all of these kind of things. So the fact that we thought we should have, putting oil on our pasta and sauteing in oil, unfortunately, the oil in our bloodstream goes right to the insulin receptors and blocks them. So then we end up with higher blood sugar. What does your liver do? Takes all that energy and stores it, and then and makes cholesterol with it, basically. But if it can't use it, then it turns it into fat. So all this carbohydrates that we've been eating, if the oil blocks the receptors, the liver makes the extra calories into fat. So watch out with adding oil to things. If you put a little skim coat, a teaspoon of oil in a pan, and you put your onions in there and add some broth, that can cook the onions, and then you take the lid off, and then you can saute them and get them brown. But the less oil you use, the better. The other thing, people were talking about juvenile diabetes. That's type 1. That isn't the case anymore. Lots of people can get type 1. They can get it after surgery. They can get it from autoimmune disease. Type 1 used to be really rare. It's mostly found in Scandinavian people. And Medtronic and a lot of these insulin pumps and things, they originated in Scandinavia, whether it's Sweden or Finland or Denmark, Norway. So know that if you have some Scandinavian in your background, you may know more people with type 1 diabetes than all the rest of us plain old Americans. So, but type 1 is definitely affecting non-Scandinavian people too. So it's on the rise, and we believe it's mostly because our lifestyle is just, gotten away from having lots of vegetables, exercise, drinking plenty of water, and that kind of thing. So that was a juvenile diabetes. Now it's called type 1. Then there was type 2 was supposed to be when you were 60 or older, you get type 2. Your pancreas wore out because you're old. No, they're finding that in teenagers. They're finding also a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds are getting to be type 2 diabetes, and you wouldn't really expect that. There's also gestational diabetes, and there's also type 3 diabetes, which is leading to Alzheimer's. So there is a connection between high blood sugar and cognitive problems. So that's another reason to maintain our blood sugar in the lower level. Don't eat too much. Just eat what you need. You need a snack between meals. You didn't have big enough meals. If you have big enough meals and you don't eat snacks, that's great. See how much you can get away with. That's a really good way to figure out your personal serving sizes. I am amazed how much some people need more food. Other people don't need hardly anything. So see what it is for you, and don't look at what they're telling you on your plate. That's not you. The last thing I want to talk about is diabetes. The myth is diabetes is managed easily, and high blood sugar is not really that dangerous a term. It is a big deal every time your A1C is above a 6.5. So it goes to 7.5, 8.5. Every one of those points will cut 10 years off of your life. So people who are walking around with a A1C of 10, they're looking at, like, what is that, 20 years? 25 years off of their life. So try to keep your A1Cs, below 7. 7 is a good number, and that's the best thing. So diabetes, just some stats from 2017. We don't have 2018 yet. I don't know why that is, but the most recent thing I can find is 2017. 1 in 11 people has diabetes, and 425 million people worldwide. I think that is higher. In Philadelphia, I believe it's 13% of the population. It might be 12, something like that. But there's in urban areas, especially, yeah, so watch out for that. 1 in 2 adults living with diabetes is undiagnosed. So half the people who think they don't have, well, out of all the people who have diabetes, half of them don't realize they have it. So that's another reason for us all to have a decent diet, exercise, keep up with the vegetables. That's where all the nutrients are. If you had whole grain wheat, whole bread, what is it, whole wheat bread, and you had a turkey breast, and that's what you ate every day for the rest of your life, you would die. And you'd have diabetes because all that chicken. So there's not enough nutrients in that. The nutrients are not in the meat. It's in the vegetables. It's in the grains. This is where all the nutrients are, the iron, the fiber, even the protein. The protein that is in animals is different than our protein. Our body has to modify it in order for us to break it down and absorb it. It's so much easier to get your protein from broccoli and spinach and peas and asparagus, Brussels sprouts. A cup of that is the same thing as an egg. That's how much protein is in these vegetables. So look at your vegetables and things like that. 1 in 6 births is affected by high blood sugar in pregnancy. So there's a lot of gestational diabetes going around. And once the woman has gestational diabetes during her pregnancy, she delivers the baby, the placenta is, expelled, and then she doesn't have diabetes anymore. It's fantastic. However, there is like a 40% chance 5 years down the road, she may end up with some diabetes again. So we need to maintain a good lifestyle. There's so many people who have genetically supposed to have diabetes, and they don't have it because they have a healthy lifestyle. So your lifestyle is what can pull the trigger on you getting diabetes or not. And what am I going to say? Oh, work with your medical team. So make sure you're seeing your dentist every 6 months. If you get a tooth infection, it raises your blood sugar. Any kind of stress on the body, you're not having breakfast and you're exercising, stress on the body, the blood sugar is going up. If you twist your ankle, if you get sick, there's so many different ways that your blood sugar can be elevated. But if you have a healthy diet, having something to eat in the morning, something midday, something late before you go to bed, having plenty of fluids, balancing your diet so that you're mostly eating vegetables and just having a little bit of animal proteins with the cheese and the eggs and things. The size of your fist or smaller, that's a good size. Actually, it isn't. It's the size of your palm. So some people have big palms, some people have smaller palms. That's how much protein you should be having if you're going to have it every day. I think that's about everything that I have covered. Yeah, every point over 6.5 A1C leads to 10 years shorter lifespan. So if you're walking around at 8.5, that's like 20 years off, right? Hopefully you guys are in good shape. You're not like that. So, but if you know somebody who, they happen to mention, oh, my A1C went to 8% or 8.5%, help them figure out what vegetables they like and try to have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Have them talk to me, Ambler Nutrition. I can help them figure out great recipes. So this is the first week of the month. Next week, we're going to talk about meal planning and that kind of thing. The third week, we're going to be away. So then the 4th and the 5th week, we'll do the applications on that 4th week of July. And then the last week of July, I want to do something with food, whether I'm going to be in the kitchen cooking or just go over some recipes or something like that. That's my goal. And again, I'm with Ambler Nutrition, amblernutrition.com. If you want to talk to me personally about some things, I can help you with a meal plan or help you with some recipes, any kind of. I also, I got a shipment just like a couple weeks ago. I have 10, so now I have down to 7 glucometers. If you want me to show you how to check your blood sugar, if your insurance doesn't cover checking your blood sugar, I can give it to you for free. So just give me a call. I can drop it off. I can show you how it works. We can meet somewhere if you're interested in checking your blood sugars. I think there's 10 test strips in there, and it expires the end of October. So I send the word out. If you know somebody who's looking for a glucometer and some test strips, it's called, I think it was the AccuCheck is the one that I have, Vario AccuCheck, something like that. So I have them. If anybody wants them, you can email me at my website. You'll see the contact. And you go to my website, amblernutrition.com, you'll see me. And here in Center on the Hill, you'll see the recordings of this. Does anybody have any other questions? I guess not. Somebody's TV is on, I can hear.
And
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
That's fine.
That's
I'm just
me,
joking.
actually. You know, I had it muted, but I actually forgot that the recording came on and said you're unmuted. Kirsten, I'd actually like to take advantage of.
Glucometer?
Yeah, I'm still at 5.9 and maintaining that 5.9. I would like to go lower, but
Yeah.
I don't have one anymore because I don't have to test.
Right. No, I can give you, I'm happy to. Anybody who wants them, like I said, I have 7 left. So it's good. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Good.
well, thank you all so very much for joining us today. We'll be here next week as well at noon. Then we're taking 1 week off on the 15th because I'm having gallbladder surgery, but then we'll be back on the 22nd. So
Oh,
thanks for joining
my.
us.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.
Right.
Take care.
Right.
Have a good day.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Thanks.
Great.